John Linneball Tutoring. My phone number is 415-986-7355. I'm John at johnlinneball.com, and my website is johnlinneball.com. This is the video called Technique and Style, Reading and Essay Question Words for the SAT. So let's get started. First of all, there are some idea words you should know for the essay portion, and these are ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos, it's the same root word, it is the root word for ethics, and those are appeals to morality. Here we mean the authority and good morals of the person making the argument. So, for example, you could say, as your doctor, I recommend this treatment if you are a doctor, and you would be appealing to, well, I'm your doctor, I'm an authority, and I want what's good for you. Pathos is an appeal to feelings. It is the root word of empathy, in which you feel the same feelings as someone else, or sympathy, where you're showing respect for someone else's feelings. Pathetic means sad, or very wimpy and small, and, just pathetic. So you could say something like, how can you say no to a dying child's wish for a day at Disney World, you callous jerk? That would be pathos. It's an appeal to feelings. What an awful human being you are if you don't feel this. Logos is rationality or logic. It's the same root word as logic. So if you said, well, fighting for peace doesn't make any sense, peace is the absence of fighting, that would be logic or rationality. So if we move on to the next page here, we have a visual guide to ethos, logos, and pathos. Logos is logic, reason, or proof, and this technique involves the structure of the speech, the opening, the body, the conclusion, references to studies, statistics, case studies, comparisons, analogies, and metaphors. So logos is mostly what we're going to be dealing with in this video. There's also ethos, which is credibility and trust, as I've discussed above. And that involves personal branding. This is a John Linneball video, so it must be right. Confidence in delivery. Don't I sound confident when I talk like this? Okay, I sound a little comical when I talk like that, but anyway. Citing to credible sources, that ties into logos very well. That if I'm talking about studies, statistics, case studies, authorities, laws, well-known literature, etc., things that people tend to believe and rely upon, that goes to ethos. See, he's a good person. He cites to good, reliable things. Pathos is emotions and values. That can include stories, inspirational quotes, vivid language. Think of things that are forwarded to you in your email all the time, things you read on the internet. Those are many, many stories that appeal to emotion to try to convince you of something. So let's move on. These are some terms used to describe technique and style. You can find them on pages 122 to 123 of the Barron's New SAT Review book, which I suggest you should buy if you're going to be taking the SAT. It's a very good book. So you want to know these words. They are likely to be used in SAT reading questions on technique or style, and they'll also help when you do the essay. These pertain to how the author develops his or her ideas in the passage, and you'll need to recognize them in questions, either in the question or in the answer choices, and you'll need to be able to use them in the essay. So the kinds of the kinds of passages on the SAT include the following. Many of these will be persuasive essays, speeches, or historical or social science passages. They might be founding documents from U.S. history or the U.S. government's philosophical underpinnings, such as the writings of John Locke. Think Life, Liberty, and Property, which was translated by Thomas Jefferson to Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness, probably because people who don't own any property aren't going to be too concerned about fighting for their right to property that they don't have. So here are some words used in literary criticism, and by criticism I just mean evaluating literature, not necessarily saying it's bad. I don't mean critical that way, I just mean evaluating it. Abstract. It's an adjective, means something that's not concrete, intangible. In other words, you can't touch it, you can't perceive it with your senses, it's just something you feel in your heart or in your brain. Loyalty, courage, etc. are all abstract qualities. You can't go to the store and buy a quart of loyalty. If you ask, the clerk will just look at you funny. An analogy is a similarity of functions or properties, the way things are like each other. Sleep is like a housekeeper for your brain. It cleans and organizes it. When you say something like that, you are making An antithesis is the opposite of a main point or thesis. The two can be combined to establish a synthesis. In fact, on the ACT, they give you 3 different viewpoints on an issue. You will have to create some sort of synthesis of these 3 viewpoints, 2 of which may be directly opposed to each other, and all 3 of which aren't going to be exactly the same. They're going to have to be different, or they wouldn't bother having 3 of them. You may also see some of this on the SAT. You may need to use the term antithesis on the SAT to describe an idea that's opposed to something that's mentioned in the literature, the little passage which you have to evaluate for the essay. Argumentative means pertaining to a logical argument. Doesn't necessarily involve anger or yelling. I know when you think of an argument, you think of people yelling at each other really loud, perhaps on the street. And that's not necessarily the case. We're talking about a logical argument where 2 people can be sitting down discussing something over coffee and just debating an intellectual issue. This brings us to the definition of argument. It's a series of logically connected statements intended to prove a point. See also logos. And you can also see the Monty Python sketch Argument Clinic, which is very funny and talks about the definition of an argument. It's an argument about what an argument is. I'll try to put that in the description box below. So there are some more words you should know. You should know what an assertion is. An assertion is a statement of fact or a declaration. That was an assertion about what the definition of the word assertion is. Wow, I'll bet I blew your mind with that. But seriously, an assertion is any statement of fact that I am telling you is true. If I said mint chocolate chip is the best kind of ice cream, that is an assertion. However, if I did that, you would probably ask me to cite, C-I-T-E, some evidence to prove that mint chocolate chip is the best ice cream, since after all, you know that Rocky Road is the best kind of ice cream. So if I'm citing to a fact, I am using that fact as evidence to support an argument. So as we can see below, evidence is a fact or facts cited as proof to support an argument. And then something that is concrete is something that has a physical existence. So when I'm using that as an adjective, it's something you can touch, feel, see, hear, somehow detect with your senses. Concrete, the substance of which many sidewalks and buildings are made, is a concrete thing. So that's how you can remember what concrete, the adjective, means. It's nice and hard and touchable like concrete. And something that is explanatory is something that tends to explain something. So hopefully you find this video to be explanatory of many things that you would like to know. Expository is similar to explanatory in that it is something that is used to explain or, in quotes, expose an idea, a process. So many of the essays you've had to write in school were expository essays where you were explaining an idea or a process, etc., etc. So there are even some more words that you should know. A generalization. A generalization is something that states an underlying or general principle that applies to many different instances or cases. In other words, it simplifies something that, well, I saw this happen, and this sort of other thing happened, and this happened. So this is a case of using inductive logic, going from the specific to the general. My bike wasn't there in the morning when I left it outside at night. That's happened to me 3 times. Apparently, bicycles disappear when left outside overnight. Eventually, I'll figure out people steal your bike if you leave it out and it's not locked up. So that is a generalization, that bikes tend to disappear when you don't have them secured and you're not watching them. Narrative. A narrative is a noun, meaning a story. A narrative can also be an adjective, which is pertaining to storytelling, so having something to do with a story. Persuasive. Persuasive means something that is intended to convince or persuade someone of something. A persuasive essay is telling people, you should do this because of the reasons that I've listed here. Rhetorical. Rhetorical is relating to effective argument. For example, a rhetorical question is one that can be answered only one way without the person answering it looking like an idiot, and it's usually not really meant to be answered. For example, if your mother asks you, "Why don't you clean up your room? Do you expect me to clean up after you for the rest of your life?" Do not answer yes, and you know you're not supposed to answer yes, so don't. It's a rhetorical question. She's asking you to pick up after yourself. Similarly, a rhetorical threat is not a serious threat, it's just something used to make a point. If I said, "If you touch my quart of mint chocolate chip ice cream, I will bash you over the head with a leg of lamb." Do you really think I'm threatening to bash you over the head with a leg of lamb, even if you eat my mint chocolate chip ice cream? No. You're just hearing what I'm saying, which is, I am really serious, I don't want you eating my ice cream, so please leave it alone. It's just something used to make a point. So hopefully these words have helped you out. I hope you do well on the SAT. Please do check out that Barron's book that I've told you about. And please check out the Monty Python Argument Clinic link on YouTube that I will put in the box below. All right, have a nice day.